A warm welcome to this course, in which we will aim to teach you how to prepare effective business presentations. This is a key survival skill in the corporate jungle, and you will need it to navigate your career path to success in any industry or corporate function. Why do you need to be able to create business presentations? Presentations are the established way to communicate information in the business world of today. Why? Well, they have a user-friendly format and are effective at conveying complex concepts, ideas, and strategies in a limited time frame. If you consider the investment banking industry, a junior banker spends the majority of his or her time preparing slides and presentations. This is because such materials are used all the time to communicate business information, like company profiles, deal case studies, transaction structures, ideas, analyses, recent updates, and so on. Basically, everything goes on slides. Similarly, presentations are widely used in consulting, industrial, and nearly all other types of companies. The key word here is communication. This is what we have to focus on and remember throughout this course. Presentations are all about effective and efficient delivery of information or communication with the target audience. This is an important concept, and we cannot emphasize it more. Communication is fundamental in any teamwork situation and client interaction, even more so when dealing with a high-value add-on product or service, such as some banking and consulting services. And the importance of communication increases when you start climbing the corporate ladder. Therefore, getting your communication toolbox right from the outset gives you the advantage and will be noticed. And this will have a positive impact on your career, business, and nearly all areas of life where human interaction is involved. Right. Presentations are important in the business world today. That's something we know. In this lesson, we'll continue the topic by describing a few types of corporate presentations we can have. Each is prepared to serve a specific purpose. One of the most common types of presentations you must prepare professionally is a sales-oriented presentation, also known as a sales pitch. These presentations are typically used by companies to win new business. This is the bread and butter of salespeople. It is one of the most common documents you will see in any industry. For example, in investment banking, pitch books are prepared to serve as the basis for discussion in all client meetings. You put together a sales presentation before meeting a client to demonstrate your expertise and capabilities, the extensive research carried out, and the resulting expertise you have to advise the client on a specific project and add value. This facilitates clients' understanding of your message, as it is much easier to explain an idea and highlight the benefits of a product or service if the communication is not just verbal but also visual, with charts and pictures emphasizing the message being delivered. Another setting in which we need presentations are board meetings. If you work for a large company, and you are part of one of its departments, like supply chain or marketing, you must brief the board of directors or top management regarding the development of key projects. Such presentations can be handy for board members and top managers, as they are busy people with responsibility for million- and billion-dollar businesses who need to multitask and think about hundreds of things every hour of every day, keep things under control 24/7, solve complex issues, and lead their teams and organizations to success. Therefore, they must be updated on recent performance as quickly, effectively, and efficiently as possible, and strong communication skills are highly appreciated by them. Budget presentations prepared by the financial or accounting department of a corporation are frequently the focus of top decision makers in companies. The budget is an important step in business planning and strategy formulation, and a presentation is an effective format to deliver this information to key decision makers at top management and board level who need to discuss and approve the budget. When discussing the budget, each line item is important, and a well-prepared presentation helps decision makers understand the basis of preparation of projections and the underlying hypotheses supporting the budget. So that's another context in which presentations are helpful. Okay, what about investor presentations? Have you heard of them? These are documents prepared by the investor relations team of a publicly listed company that aim to update shareholders regarding the latest company developments and performance. They are compulsory for all listed companies. This next item looks like an aside, but we'll include it. Are you sure they are compulsory? This is one of the key documents commonly used in investor relations and made publicly available. You can familiarize yourself with it if you check any big listed company's website. It is usually in the investor relations section with annual and interim financial reports. As you can see, presentations are used in nearly every industry and corporate function to communicate business information internally and externally. Don't worry, even if you have no idea how to prepare a complete corporate presentation, we will teach you how to do that. Stay tuned for the rest of the course, and we will give you the toolkit to prepare state-of-the-art presentations and some examples and best practices straight from one of the most demanding and sophisticated professional fields, where presentations are widely used, investment banking. This is where we have gained most of our experience, and we will be happy to share it with you. Okay, excellent. So what comes up next in this course? First, we will discuss some of the most important principles you must follow when building a presentation. If you respect these rules, you can be sure the presentations you create are professional and deliver the right message you want to convey. Once we have learned the key principles we must follow, we'll examine the presentation creation process in more detail. We'll study the steps involved, and we'll explain the role of each step. Then we will be pleased to show you some technical tips and tricks that would allow you to give a professional touch to the appearance of your PowerPoint documents. When we cover all that material, we will be pleased to show you some widely used types of slides that allow you to present the business of a company. And the great thing is that you can always use these slides as a template when you must prepare a company presentation. Throughout the course, you will get summaries of all key concepts and quizzes to test your understanding. Our goal is to provide a well-structured course on presentation skills for business, including key takeaways, best practices, and case studies from investment banking. Now, let's take a deep breath and dive straight into the key principles you must know. Principle 1. Deliver maximum level of information in limited time and space. Okay, great. In this part of the course, we will discuss some of the most important principles you must follow when building a presentation. If you respect these rules, you will make sure the presentations you create are professional and deliver the message you want to convey. Sounds good? Let's get started then. The first principle we'll study underlies all other principles and makes presentations an efficient communication tool. It takes time, careful planning, hard work, and multiple drafts to prepare a good informative slide that can be quickly and easily digested by the audience and brings its attention straight to the point, delivering the intended messages. A slide can be very detailed and include a great deal of information, like a company profile, for example, or it can be more high level, but with exactly the right messages standing out, like an executive summary. The style of slides would depend on the purpose and audience of the presentation, as we will see later. But the key messages should really jump out of the page and should be evident in slide titles and subtitles, text boxes, chart titles, and in the bullet point highlights on the side. A person who sees the slide for the first time should be able to understand its main idea in less than 10 seconds. Therefore, it is imperative we create slides that are easy to digest and as clear as possible, delivering the intended messages right away. Principle 2. Develop logical slide flow to build a sensible and engaging story for the audience. Everyone likes a good story, right? This is also true here. Focused attention is a rare commodity. To get our points across, we need the attention of the audience, and to get that, we must develop an engaging storyline. Always assume your presentation is competing for the limited time and attention of the audience, with multiple other information channels and distractions surrounding them, so the quality of your content must be superior. Try to make it easy for the audience to focus on your message and follow your story. This is especially important when working on large presentations. In the investment banking world, such documents are pitch books, investor decks, confidential information memorandums, and management presentations, documents that present business or investment opportunities at great length and detail. They must show a clear and logical investment theme or equity story that makes sense to the audience. So, it is critical that you create an engaging and logical storyline to hold the attention of the audience throughout the entire presentation. This is principle number 2, and it is important. Stay tuned for our next video. Principle 3. Key messages should be delivered clearly, starting from the title of each slide. Principle number 3 is, key messages should be delivered clearly, starting from the title of each slide. This links to the previous points about structuring your story. Every slide delivers information or a key message, which is a building block of the story you are developing. And this information or message should be made very clear straight from the top of the slide. Sometimes the audience will just look at the title and, based on that, decide whether to spend any time looking at the rest of the slide. Therefore, by reading the title of each slide, the audience should immediately see their "What's in it for me?" Is the information on the slide useful, and is it worth spending time and energy digesting it? This is especially important in marketing-oriented presentations like pitch books, investor decks, confidential information memorandums, and management presentations. We'll look into some illustrative structures and sample slides for these documents later in the course. But a good example to mention here comes from key investment highlights, which are a common element in such presentations. These are basically the main reasons an investor or a buyer should be interested in an investment opportunity. One logical reason to invest would be the exposure to a high-growth market. Therefore, one of the first points in such lists of key investment highlights would read along the lines of a long-term growth story, high-growth market, strong industry tailwinds, attractive growth prospects, favorable sector trends, etc. Such message can be the title of a slide that shows further evidence and explains in more detail why this is the case. One way to do that would be to show historical and projected total revenues for the relevant market. Then additional slides and layers of detail can be added, demonstrating the drivers for such expected industry growth. Its drivers can be macroeconomic, like GDP growth, consumer trends and tastes, technological innovation, dynamics in related markets, regulatory, and so on. For example, if we are talking about the renewable energy market, we can have the following slide sequence. 1. A long-term growth story for green energy, and a slide showing growth projections for the total market from a specialized industry consultant. 2. Driven by long-term increasing demand for electricity, and a slide showing data points supporting the statement that can also come from specialized industry or government sources. 3. Technological evolution. Slide with data points showing how the underlying technology has improved and become more efficient over time. And so on and so forth. Remember this principle. Key messages should be delivered clearly, starting from the title of each slide. Okay, we are doing excellent. We already know principles 1, 2, and 3, and in this video, we'll learn principle number 4. It basically says, tailor the presentation to the intended purpose and audience. Adapt its format according to the objectives of the presentation and the background, seniority, experience, and perspective of the intended audience. This is very important. Business presentations should be approached as a tailor-made product for a very sophisticated audience. To connect with the audience and get your points across, you should put yourself in their shoes and understand their perspective. Senior executives, for example, have very limited time and attention span, so presentations for them should be kept short and high level. A presentation to a CEO or board of directors should be kept short, high level, and showing the key summary points and conclusions from all of the thinking, research, and analysis that has gone into a presentation. It wouldn't be reasonable to expect to hold attention of such people for more than 10 to 20 slides. This should be remembered when preparing documents for board meetings. If necessary, some further and more detailed slides can be included in an appendix section to the main body that can be covered or not during the actual meeting. More junior and analysis-focused parties can be fed with longer, more detailed presentations. Documents like confidential information memorandums and analyst presentations for equity research analysts are very detailed and include a great deal of data that can be analyzed and plugged into various models. Such documents are often in the 50 to 100 page range and can exceed 100 pages. In summary, the more junior you are, the more detail-oriented and analytical work you should expect to be doing, and it is assumed by your boss you have the time and willingness to read a lot and process enormous amounts of information. Okay, excellent. The fifth principle you should remember when creating corporate presentations is that you must keep text messages short. Once again, this principle touches upon clarity and efficiency of information delivery. Any text you add to the slides should be kept short, punchy, straight to the point, and without repetition. Unnecessary language that doesn't add material information must be avoided. This makes the presentation easily digestible for the audience, as the human mind can focus only on a limited amount of information at any given time. Try to stick to the facts, key performance indicators or KPIs, numbers, charts, everything that would facilitate fast comprehension. For example, if you are describing the business of a manufacturing company, you can use bullet points along these lines. Founded in 2002 and headquartered in Toronto, Canada. 1,200 employees. Product lines include home care, beauty care, and baby care products. 3 manufacturing facilities located in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. Sales presence in 45 countries, including Canada, US, Australia, 30 European, 9 Asian, and 3 Latin American countries. One of the important principles you should remember is that whenever you start working on the text of a presentation, use key or buzzwords that can quickly ring a bell in the mind of the audience. When people hear a familiar term, they can immediately grasp the concept without much explanation. The trick here is to use terms you are sure your audience is familiar with. These can be industry-specific or role-specific terms. To give you some examples, when talking about a company's operating performance, size, and profitability, one of the key terms would be EBITDA, or earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. This should be a familiar concept to financial professionals like bankers and accountants, people in financial departments of corporations, and some top management executives like CFO and CEO. However, it shouldn't be assumed that anyone else is familiar with this specific term. Another great example is the term SKU, or stock keeping unit, which is a widely used term in the consumer products industry. It helps us identify each product line and product variation offered by a company. For example, if a company produces a brand of chocolate bars, each product variation of that brand, in terms of different size, different packaging, different color or flavor, would be neatly defined as a separate SKU. ARPU, or average revenue per user, is a measure widely used in the telecoms industry, defined as the total revenue of a company divided by the number of its subscribers and is usually calculated monthly. These examples illustrate how some function-specific terms like EBITDA and some industry-specific terms like SKU and ARPU can immediately deliver the message, but must be used with the appropriate context and audience. If there are any doubts about the clarity of certain terms, they should be defined or footnoted and explained in more detail. The suitability of any terms and key or buzzwords used is left to the judgment of the people preparing the presentation. However, if you doubt your audience will be familiar with some of the key words you intend to use in the presentation, make sure to double-check they understand the language you are using. Otherwise, the presentation will fail at its main task, to deliver a clear message to the audience. One picture is worth 1,000 words, as the saying goes. Visual elements convey much more information than plain text in much shorter time. The best presentations use visual elements. It's always better to show numbers in a table or chart compared to showing them as plain text. So when working on a presentation, you should try to include as many visual elements as possible. You can do that in many ways. For example, you can use tables to show summary financial information from the income statement of the firm. You can use pie charts to show who owns what portion of the company, or to show the revenue breakdown of a company, or what percentage of revenues comes from each product line or geography. Bar charts can be helpful. A bar chart allows you to show the evolution of a key performance indicator or KPI over time. Waterfall charts show the evolution of a KPI over time, breaking it down to its components and showing how each component contributed to its overall change. Pictures can be handy too. We can use them to show some of the firm's facilities, management, products, and brand logos. And finally, it's nice when we can insert a map in one of our slides and show the locations where the company operates, or the places where its production facilities are located. Visual elements are great. Remember that. Principle 8. Develop the presentation with the big picture in mind. Always start building the presentation outline with a skeleton. Just like architects who first design the entire building on a drawing board or specialized software before the construction has actually started, we should prepare our presentations with a complete outline first, before populating the slides with any content. Each presentation requires time and effort to build, so we should follow the best practice in project management to start with a good and complete plan in mind before delving into the heavy lifting around content generation that may include research, data mining, formatting, and so on. Having said that, the initial presentation outline is not set in stone, and there should always be flexibility to amend it once the preparation of the document has started. That may be due, for example, to new information being discovered halfway through the project, or stakeholders changing their views. This is a skeleton that can be changed and amended as required. However, the best thing to do when starting a new project is to prepare a complete document outline. This is much better than the alternative approach of randomly generating slides. We must have a plan. In the next part of our course, we will show you a detailed step-by-step guide that will teach you how to build corporate presentations from scratch.